Hello everybody, welcome back to All Ride. My name is Jason Bull and today we're going to be giving you our first ride impressions of the GT Sensor Carbon Elite model. GT was founded in the 1970s by Gary Turner in California. That is where their bikes are designed, while manufacture, like most other brands, takes place in the East. The brand has a long history of race wins and world-class bike designs. Their more gravity-focused bikes have recently seen a lot of podiums under the likes of Martin Mays on the Downhill World Cup and the EWS. All the lessons that they've learned from those race wins have certainly been implemented in making the Sensor a better bike. GT have pegged the Sensor as their trail bike. The build and design suggest that it is intended for a rider who's looking to make the most of the descents without sacrificing too much uphill efficiency. 29-inch wheels, capable geometry, and the 130-140mm travel bracket mean that this bike should be ready for just about any adventure, be that some short trail loops from home, a big weekend outride, and trails ranging from quite steep and technical to flatter flow trails. The two models that will be available in South Africa will be the Carbon Elite model, valued at 52,000 Rand, and the Alloy Comp model, valued at 42,000 Rand. Both of these will be available in sizes small, medium, large, and extra large. The front triangle of the Sensor is made from carbon, while the rear of the bike is made from alloy. It features a flip chip to slightly adjust the geometry, 148mm of boost spacing at the rear hub, plenty of room for a water bottle in the frame, well thought out chainstay and down tube protection, neat cable routing down the bottom tube, popular horse link suspension design, and geometry design that is bang on the money when it comes to modern trail bike standards. We'll get into the details of the build a little bit later, but I can say that as stock, you won't be needing to spend any extra money in order to get the bike up to scratch. It is a well thought out build that you will be able to upgrade over time as wear and tear items run their race, if you so desire. All in all, the bike was fairly quick and painless to set up. In terms of the rear suspension, there's a guide printed on the rocker link to get you started. I eventually settled on 155 psi's and 33% sag for my 80 kilogram riding weight. I found that this made the bike feel nice and planted and stable in the corners without wallowing or bottoming out too much. At the fork, RockShox have printed a setup guide on the lowers. I settled for 85 psi, which is at the top of the recommended range for my weight. This was in order to get a little bit more support out of the gold 35RL fork. In terms of the contact points of the bike, I slid the saddle forwards on the rails in order to get a bit further over the pedals as I prefer, but otherwise found it comfortable, much like the Fabric Fun Guy grips. At the cockpit, I didn't need to do any fiddling. The combo of the 45mm stem with 780mm wide bars and their 15mm of rise suited the bike perfectly, and I was happy to ride them as stock. I have been riding the medium Sensor, and here are a quick few geometry numbers for you to chew on. The head angle sits at 65.5 degrees, while the seat tube angle is 76 degrees. Both are appropriately progressive, but not too radical. This makes the bike stable on the descents and a comfortable climber. The seat tube length sits at 430mm for the medium and 480mm for the large. This is a little bit long for my liking, but there's certainly enough room for you to run a decent travel dropper post. The reach of the medium is 445mm, while in the large that's 470mm. The chainstays are nice and compact at 435mm. The wheelbase on the medium is 1194mm, and on the large that is 1222. The flip chip at the lower shock mount will adjust your head and seat tube angles by 0.5 degrees. I've been running it in the low setting and I haven't felt any need to steepen up those angles. When it comes to the climbing performance of the GT Sensor, I found that it feels stable while climbing with only very slight pedal bob. The bike generates good traction and was happy to deal with all the climbs that I presented it with over the test period. I was pleasantly surprised by the bike's ability to handle technical features when climbing. This would be due to the combination of 29-inch wheels, a steep seat tube angle, supple suspension with good anti-squat support, and a 12-speed drivetrain. The bike isn't a lightweight, but it does carry its weight really well, feeling agile and ready to go. Now for the good stuff, the descending. I rode the bike at several locations around the Cape, namely Takai Mountain Bike Park, Hooggekrol, and also the local natural trails around Cape Town to get a good mix of terrain. The suspension offers decent support and it handled everything that I threw at it. I did have a couple crashes, but I don't need any help from a bike in order to make those happen. The fork isn't on par with its more expensive sibling, the Pike, but it did a good job of absorbing the trail and keeping the front wheel on the ground. Unless you're a high-performance rider, you won't likely be unsatisfied with this fork's performance, and the same can be said for the shock. The TRP G-Spec trail brakes are appropriate for this bike's intentions with plenty of power. There is room to upgrade to a 200mm rotor on the front though, if you do want a bit more power. The geometry is bang on, well-rounded, stable and agile. It's not an enduro bike, but it will definitely give you performance gain over the popular cross-country and marathon bike designs that are common on our trails. The medium-sized sensor definitely felt agile on the trail. I could easily be on a large, but the added nimbleness of the medium was something I was keen to get a feel for, and I really enjoyed it. The large would certainly offer a more stable ride if that's what you're looking for at my size. I noticed that the bike was surprisingly stable in the rough terrain and has a planted feel on the trail, though it could pop and play if you wanted it to. The sensor feels really balanced in the corners, where the cockpit setup, the geometry and good suspension all pair well together to provide good performance. Let's run you through some details of the build. The fork is a RockShox 35 Gold RL, offering 140mm of travel. The rear shock is a RockShox Deluxe Select Plus RT. It features rebound adjust and a climbing switch. You have a SRAM NX Eagle drivetrain, which is 12-speed, 11 to 50-tooth cassette, and a 32-tooth front chainring with Truvative descendant cranks. The brakes are TRP G-Spec trail brakes with 180mm rotors front and rear and 4 pistons. The seat post is a GT Dropkick dropper seat post. This comes in 120mm for the small and medium and 150mm for large and extra large. The bike runs WTB wheels on Formula hubs and comes stock with a Maxxis 2.5 Minion up front and 2.4 Dissector at the back, whereas we have had the Kenda Regolith 2.4s front and rear. The cockpit is courtesy of GT with a 780mm wide bar with 15mm of rise and a 45mm stem. In overview, the GT Sensor Carbon Elite is a well-rounded trail bike. As your first trail bike, it would certainly hit all the marks required, and it's got a really solid frame set and build that you would be able to upgrade as you go and as you desire. If you're interested in the bike, the best thing for you to do would be to find a bike shop where they're available and take one for a test ride. Details on where to find one will be in the description below. Thank you for watching everybody, and we'll see you on the trails.